Hello everyone.
Hello.
This is a new episode from G.GOES Live. I have a special guest with me in the studio at the new renovated Per-vurt. This is Elias. Used
Hello,
to be
everybody.
called Stamina. And we are going to talk a lot about many things, including performance. This is Ziad. Hello. Ziad
Hello,
Sarroa
Ziz.
is the partner of Elias in their new project called
Atomic Circus.
Atomic Circus.
It's our new live act, actually.
Really sorry for the people who are joining later. Maybe they cannot see or they cannot hear what we talked about earlier, but we are going to try to answer all your questions. And again, let me introduce my guest. He's well known in Lebanon, I know that, but since this video is going to be public and it's going to be everywhere, Elias is a good friend of mine. He used to be called Stamina before. Yeah, he was playing with the microphone, so sorry if you heard anything. And Elias has been DJing and producing for like maybe more than 15 years maybe. And now he is moving a little bit more into live performance using a lot of analog gear, synthesizers, controllers and stuff like that. And it's an honor for me to have him here at Per-vurt to talk about this and answer all your questions. So how are you, Elias?
First, it's an honor for me to be here with you
Thanks.
at Per-vurt. I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'll be looking forward to have this session with you, Mo.
Which is gonna be not the last time.
Definitely not the last time. It's gonna be at least once a month.
Once a month at least, that's great. So, before we receive your questions, maybe we can talk a little bit about the scene nowadays in Lebanon, especially in Lebanon. And as I can see that the scene is booming nowadays. What do you think?
It's actually getting pretty big, you know. A lot of parties, a lot of bookings, a lot of international DJs, and a lot of people partying. So I think we witnessed already last week a party that stayed till like almost 10 a.m. This was the first time in Beirut seeing a club full till like packed till 9:30, 10 a.m. and this was we felt like we were in like Europe, you know. And it felt good.
How was it? How did you feel when you were just playing till? I mean, I'm really sure that this reminded you somehow of the
old
golden
days.
of,
Yeah,
of
of course.
the
It
scene.
reminded me of the old days of the big room parties that some promoter used to do before. But also it was very different. The production was a massive production. A very good collaboration between Sionexat, Off and On, and Iron Cult, who are my friends, and I salute them. And yeah, so it was a party that started somewhere, it ended up somewhere else, and I think everyone was satisfied, and it was really
I heard a lot.
impressive.
I heard a lot of stories about that, and it's really good to see that like when you have a gig with 4,000 or 5,000 people, like I think promoters should all collaborate together
I mean,
for that.
they should do their stuff, but also I am for collaborating with other people, you know. It's always, for me, working with people will get you to your objective faster than if you're just working by yourself.
Exactly.
And yeah, so some people are into this, some are not, but eventually we all evolve, and I think a lot of people change their minds through all these years, and now we're seeing people collaborating, and that's so cool.
And I really must say that I've known Elias for maybe 10, 15, 12
15
years,
yeah.
yes, and he has never failed to impress me every time I watch him live, or I stay till the last beat, always.
You're making me uncomfortable. But thank you, Mo. Thank you, man.
Really, seriously. And
I'll try to do my
with
best.
all the forward thinking and bringing new ideas to the table, and just,
Zuhair.
you know, giving the scene something new and fresh. And with what he's doing now, I'm really, and that's the core of the video tonight, with something new to being an artist live on stage, which is not DJing anymore. It's a different thing called live performance or just creating live or producing live on stage. And basically we are going to give this topic a lot of time tonight. And the project Elias founded with Ziad Sarouh is called Atomic Circus.
My other half, Ziad Sarouh.
And he's with us.
He's
We
with us
salute
online.
him.
I wish you were here.
Yes.
Master.
And recently they performed at the Grand Factory at the
Roll back.
the new room at the reunion, and it was massive. So how did you prepare for this, and what is exactly Atomic Circus?
The Atomic Circus is, we're two guys, Ziad Sarouh and myself, coming from two different schools of music. I mean, we know the same music, but Ziad was more into rock and blues and jazz and stuff like that. He's an old school guy, and he's the guy, I think I said it in the interview many times, he's the guy I've been looking for all these years. And I got so lucky. 1 year ago, 1 year and a half ago, when I heard someone wanted to sell 303 Roland, and Ziad was the guy, so I went to meet Ziad. We had a discussion, and it clicked. He heard some of my production. He's like, let's do something together. And this is how we started. We started 1 year ago. It started first with just knowing each other, then, jamming, just improvising, creating beats on the fly. Until we felt comfortable, the workflow was becoming better and better. And this is where we actually decided to go for it 100%. The name took a while. I mean, we were trying to find different names until Atomic Pulse was like the one that got us convinced. And here we are. We actually, the rehearsal wasn't really playing the same live all over again. The rehearsal was more why did we rehearse? It's because to get comfortable, we needed to get comfortable with the gear, the workflow, trying to find the right setup, the less machines possible, even though we had a lot of machines, and understanding each other. So we basically started by creating beats on the Roland TR8, and Ziad is a musician, great musician, who plays the piano and the bass and so many other things. He knows everything about synthesis and synthesizers, drum machines. I think he's the guy who's got the biggest collection of synths in Beirut.
Yeah, Ziad is a synth head, I call him, and he's so passionate about that. And I was really fortunate also to have a lot of chit chats with him. We talked about the philosophical aspect of music, as he said last time in an interview for Per-vurt. And yes, I was asking you that when you found your partner, like your second half, at that point you were also changing a little bit in your sound. You were traveling, and you were just exposed more to different sounds. And as I can see that you are just doing that live nowadays, like changing a little bit from maybe the techno side to a more like music with more like a human feel to it.
Let's say it's a mix of all our influences. So there's a mix of jazz, blues, soul, hip hop, trip hop, disco. There's so many names.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go into genres, but mainly, we're trying to combine these styles and try to do something like new. Different, new. I mean, the live act is not something new, but for us, it was. I mean, I worked my whole life to get to this stage, and there's still a lot. There's a lot to come, and there's more to come. It's endless. So basically, this is what we do. We create beats. We sound design. We both have to agree on all the sounds, of course, and then we perform, and we create sequences. And every time the sequences are played differently, even the drums the arrangement, if you want, I play them differently. I never play them the same, so it's never gonna sound the same. It's always gonna be different. It's always gonna have a mood, a vibe. Sometimes it could be like more chill. Sometimes it could be super intense. So it could be techno, house, anything. Let's just say electronic music.
Yes, electronic, exactly. And how do you really prepare for that? Or do you leave a lot of time for improvisation, like going intuitive on stage and just being there completely present in the moment and just creating stuff on stage? Do you leave a big chunk of time for that, or you just give more to preparation?
Well, I mean, it takes anyways a lot of preparation. Just sound designing takes a lot. Creating sounds from scratch, you know, I mean, you know, we're not going to use presets that are already that have been used by so many people, and so we're trying to create our own unique sound with our signature, and it takes a lot of time. There's also the like changing of setup, you know, just to be more comfortable with for the workflow, and to be able to control every single sound and everything. So this takes a lot of time. Also the beat creating, I remember, and Ziad he says it always, like, you know, that one day we're creating a song, yeah, it's amazing. I come the second day, I'm like, Ziad, we need to change this, I need to change the hat, I need to change that. And we start arguing at the end. You know, for me, you shouldn't be attached to a sound. You can always do a better sound. So,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
So we're starting to have questions, and I'm gonna try my best to go through all the questions now. We have a question from Ali Termos. He's asking, would you recommend the producers in Lebanon to go more into DJing or live performance?
I mean,
It's different.
it's very different. DJ could be a great producer if he started DJing, and a producer who never DJed and became really known because his production is really good, sometimes they fail as DJs. But again, it depends what you like, what you want. I mean, I like DJing, I'm never gonna stop DJing, but also one of my objectives was to perform live. Why? Because in 98, 99, I went to London and witnessed kick-ass live performance by it was I think a psychedelic trance act called Ethnica, and I was impressed, and since then I wanted to do it, but I never wanted to do it myself. I love collaborating again, and Ziad was the guy who motivated me to do it, and I just felt comfortable working with him, and it happened.
We have a new question. It's from Christopher. He's asking, are you guys down if you ever had the chance to do a back-to-back set with someone who plays other than techno and tech house?
We're down to play back-to-back with anyone. It depends on the mood, it depends on the crowd, it depends on the whole, environment. So once a friend told me, I know that techno is not your style. I'm like, this is the first strong thing you just said. Techno could be my style when I have to play techno, when the party is techno oriented, or the crowd. Sometimes it could be trip hop, sometimes it could be funk, sometimes it could be house and techno. But again, I'm one of those guys who like to mix all styles together, because just playing one style, in my opinion, becomes boring. So it's good to be global and be able to play anything you want.
Because music is freedom.
Of course, it's freedom.
Yeah.
But again, you need to put, for example, you're playing a house set and you want to throw a disco track. This disco track has to come at the right time, the right moment, and this is the hardest part of it.
Yeah, great. So Ghassan Ibrahim is asking, how can I start live performance if I've never been DJing before? So are you a musician? We don't know. Anyway.
So if you were first you need to at least know production to be able to it depends what kind of live you want to do. If it's just a band live with instrument, you need to be able to play your instrument and find the right people to start jamming and be able to perform. But in electronic music, I think you need the base of production and sound design and all this stuff to be able to later on perform in front of anyone. There's so many ways of performing. You can use Ableton, you can just use Analogue Synthesizer, you can mix DJ set with machines. It's called a hybrid set. So that's it. For us, Atomic Pulse is just analog. It's synth oriented. It's we're just using Ableton as a pedal, as an effector, or as a recorder if you want. So we just go from the setup into Ableton and from Ableton back into the mixer. That's it.
So I guess we will be talking about the technical side of, by the way, it's Atomic Pulse or Circus?
It's did I just say Atomic Pulse?
Yeah.
Ziad is gonna kill me. Ziad is
twice. You said it twice.
Ziad is gonna kill me because every time he's like, why are you still saying Atomic Pulse?
That
and
was
it's Atomic Circus because I used to play a lot of tracks from an act that is called Atomic Pulse. And I'm sorry, Ziad. So yeah, Atomic Circus.
So we have a new question from Ralph Asi. How do you guys start preparing for the set? I think we talked about this. What's the next step after preparing your sequences? Which machine will lead the other or others?
I mean, you need a clock. You need a clock
to sync everything.
To sync everything. So basically, it's the MX1. MX1 is a Roland mixer that sends a signal to all the instruments, so they to be able to have them synced all together, and yeah. So and there's a lot of wiring. From MIDI wiring to MIDI merging to MIDI through to audio wiring as well, and yeah, it's pretty complicated. Ziad is the master at it. He usually does it. I'm trying to understand better and better what he's doing, but I think Ziad is the guy who would give you the proper answer for
yes,
these
and
kind of questions.
we hope to, and maybe in the next guest appearance with Elias, maybe Ziad can be with us. We are calling him out officially, but we need to change the location from this side of the studio. Maybe we can sit on the other side. And I have a question for you.
Yes.
So when you have a partner, usually when I always see this with duos. So someone is, for example, more professional, or he's more comfortable with drums. The other one is more comfortable with playing on the keyboard. So do you have this split of tasks,
of
if
course.
I may call it?
Of course, you know, Ziad is a musician. I'm not. I mean, I know a bit the music theory, but Ziad is someone who studied music, different schools, big schools, and he's a musician. So, I mean, yes, we work the way he creates, but again, sometimes I can lead him, tell him I need that sound to be more, I don't know, like raw, or something smoother, or you know, just change the sound. I'm not liking it. I like this sequence. I don't like this sequence. And again, I create the drums. Again, if Ziad didn't agree and he didn't like the groove, I will change the drums until we both are satisfied with the result. And again, it's a non-stop editing of sounds, of changing. It's like micro-tuning, you know.
Yeah.
But we spend a lot of sound designing. We agree on everything. I mean, he plays the stuff, he tries stuff. When I feel there's a groove, or he feels there's the groove, or a hook, so and we're both convinced, we stick to the hook. And sometimes we stick to it. Sometimes we just come back a week later and we're like, we have to change the whole song. And this is where I started, like, Ziad gets really pissed at me.
I can imagine that. And are you planning to maybe release later on under this?
We will definitely be releasing our Atomic Circus album.
It's also going to be.
It's not going to be a produced album. It's going to be
recorded
recorded on a multi-channel recording. You know, it's just a flow. We're going to do many versions, Then we will choose what would be the best version. Before launching the album, we'll be doing an album sampler or two,
Nice.
choosing one tracks with 3-4 different versions, and yeah. So that's basically it.
Great.
I'd rather it's more organic, it's more alive. It's just it's instinct, and it sounds good.
Always. So we have a question from Nicholas Camel. Where would you say your musical knowledge came from? Meaning, where did you learn the most?
Well, my family. I come from an artistic background. My whole family, from my uncle Remy Lahoud, who's done so many musicals and created so many songs and lyrics, 60 musicals, 700 songs, composing, writing and everything. My father used to sing. He's a traditional singer, choreographer. My mother as well. So yeah, I think it just runs in the blood, like we say, and I'm proud of it, and I'm so glad I grew up in this environment, and I learned a lot. Even though I took another direction, a musical direction, but still, there's a lot of the main influence comes from the family.
Well, Firas is saying, please stop kicking the table. We can hear it. Like, we have one microphone, unfortunately.
It's actually the microphone, yeah.
Yes, and now I'm going to find maybe a solution because, we are very excited to be with you. That's why we're kicking the table somehow. And yeah, we'll move on. Maybe we can have some more questions as a small reminder, because some people just joined now and I have my laptop in front of me so I can read your questions. So for those who did not join from the beginning of this video, we were online. We've been online actually since 8. We're gonna stay till 10 maybe. And tonight's topic is going to be about mainly live performance. But if you have any question about DJing, production, music business, nightlife, anything, here's my good friend Elias here with me at the studio, and we will try to answer all your questions. So we were talking about Atomic Circus, not Pulse.
Yeah, Circus.
That's the project Elias and Ziad Sarrouh launched recently, and they had their first gig at Reunion. And when is it going to happen again?
Well, I'm still waiting for confirmations for 2 other dates during this year. One will definitely be at our the concept I've created with my brother, a tribe called Tribe, which is it's a new brand we created. It's a community. We all work together.
Your brother
Raphael. From designers to everyone has a position. Everyone is an expert in what he does, and it's like a community. It's not just one guy who's representing. Tribe is not just me. I maybe founded it, but
it's a tribe that's
exactly
always growing.
So this will be one of the performances, and I'm still waiting for the other promoters to just give me dates and confirm them. First performance was at Reunion. It was a blast, even though we were very stressed. It's like it was the first time I'm DJing in front of a crowd, but those are the best 15 minutes
ever.
And then you feel comfortable and you just go with the flow, and I think I'm pretty satisfied, and Ziad as well.
Great. And back to Atomic Circus, I think, because we're talking a lot about it, because it's the main topic of tonight's live broadcast, which I'm gonna do basically every Wednesday at 8 with guests, my colleagues. And with Atomic Circus, as I said before, it's a new concept, it's a new way of performance. It's not replacing DJing, it's not canceling DJing or any act of live. But the special thing about Atomic Circus is that the guys are using analog synthesizers. They are analog based. So if you have any question about that, or even about anything related to the maybe workflow, or maybe you can ask us, and we are very glad to answer. We might have a question. Well, it started in the womb, or maybe even before he became. Well, Moses, I was reading. I was reading your comment. I didn't know if it was a question. Shall we read it?
Yeah, you can. If you
Okay, he was like, Moses Bazouni, he's a good friend as well. Elias, tell people the
Hello,
truth.
Moses.
Your first musical circus experience probably started in the womb, or maybe even before you became an atom in the universe. Ahaha,
That's
you
beautiful
both are
from
finals
philosophy.
in the world of digital. Salute and thank you for your time, guys. Much appreciated. Music will always be our most reliable time machine. Moses,
Well,
you hit me on the...
Miss you, man.
You hit me
It's
on
been a long
my,
time.
on my deepest depths, you know. You're like me. Philosophical and deep. Always enjoyed conversations with you, my friend. So, until we receive new questions, let's see who's joining now. Oh, we have a new question. Let me refresh my laptop. It's from Nicolas Camel. When making music, do you think of what you would like to listen to, or is it more of a what do people enjoy?
To be honest, it might sound maybe pretentious, I don't know, but it's what I enjoy. So I make music because I like making music, because this is how I like it. And if some people like it, some people don't. Some people like this track, some people prefer this other track. So again, this is taste. The main objective behind making music is just being innovative, create something. I'm not gonna say new, but something different. So what's the purpose of just making music and do music like someone else or copying someone else? You know, it's there's no achievement in that, I think. So the most important thing is just being creative, and there's so many times that I'm like at the last part, let's say the last phase of the production, and I just decide to not go over the track and forget about it and delete it. So
Or maybe come back to it later.
or maybe come back to it 2 years later, and you're like, wow, how did I forget this? You know, I should have finished it. So again, it depends on your mood. It depends on your feelings. It depends on your inspiration at the moment. You can get inspired by anything, anyone. So yeah, I think I try to make the music that I like, and if people are enjoying it, I'm glad they're enjoying it, and it pleases me.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference, by the way, between a DJ or someone who has his own signature in making music. So people will follow not the event or the gig, or just because they want to go out and have fun. No, in some cases, when you have an artist with a signature to him, people go to listen to his sound because it's a way for him to just project and communicate with other people who look like him. Maybe.
Thank you, Firas.
So I think you should play the music that you love, especially if you're a producer. Also, with respect to the event itself. So if there's a certain gig, for example, if you're warming up for someone or closing, and some people, some producers, they just go there and play their album or tracks. That's unfortunate for me, because you have to really understand your position on the lineup and just to respect which part you're taking. It's not about just projecting and showing like the best track of yours, or maybe some people try their demos. They are not yet mastered. They go there and try it. So at some point it's okay, but I think there must be some, some more professionalism in this. I've seen people like play just only their music, trying their music, or even if they are booked to be a warm-up DJs, they end up just destroying the dance floor in the main set, and yeah, this creates a lot of confusion in the lineup. So back to this is a question from Yasser Al-Ahmadi. Do music producers need to be sound engineers? If not, does it help? Well, you can be a producer to create something. You can create, because look, music production is it's a 5 stages process. It's the first stage is the conceive stage, where you just create the identity of the track, and you create you go through the sounds. Maybe you just play some basic chords, progression, or even bass line. You just get an ID for your track with a certain style or direction or tempo. And then you move into the next stage, which is a stage called composition, when you start composing stuff on your timeline or on your grid. And then you move into the third process, which is the editing process, where you start linking all the layers together, and when you start just organizing your project and just eliminating stuff that you're not using. And you have a lot of sub-processes to that. And then you move into something which not all the time you're responsible for, which is the mixing stage. And the mixing stage, if you're not really a mixing artist with a lot of knowledge, I suggest that you leave this to a professional mixing artist.
This is the job of an engineer.
Exactly.
I mean, an engineer could be a producer, but a producer is not necessarily an engineer.
Exactly. And then you have the 5th stage, which is the mastering stage. And this is just a whole different subject we can talk about later on. But if you reach the 3rd stage, which is creating, you just finish with the creative process, you can move to a professional engineer, and he can help you mix and master your song. So you don't have to be, it helps of course, but you should really just highlight or put some brackets or underline the word engineer, because engineers are people who studied engineering, not, you can say sound engineer or audio engineer or mixing artist or mixing, etc. So some people call themselves engineers, while they are not. They're just people with a lot of experience. So we have, we have a lot of questions now. We have Elias Daher. Elias, first, I loved your set at the Solomon this past Saturday. My question is, in a world that a bit competitive in the DJ industry, what's the thing that can make you stand out from the others if you're not yet a producer?
As a DJ, you mean?
Yes, as a DJ, as a performer.
So, as a DJ, first, experience is very important. Then, consistency. Consistency is trying to please at least the most of the crowd every time you play, even though you can't please everyone every time. But again, to like really be exceptional and different, you need to play a sound that no one else plays. And I mean, trying to play like all those known tracks like everyone does, there's nothing special in it. You really need to search for your music. It takes a lot of time. I spend my life doing this. And again, it's there's technique in it, there's personality, there's the flow. A DJ with no flow would never take you into a journey. So that's basically it.
Yeah, so a summary of it might be that you have a lot of different ways to stand out, and one of the ways is what actually Elias is doing nowadays with a new concept. You don't have to be this or that or that, just create something new. Look, I know some people who are very creative by just wearing something, wearing something different, you know, just crazy stuff. And of course that's not related to music, but I know a lot of people who are taking a lot of fees just because they wear masks or something like this. So just focus on the creative aspect about music, whether it's performance, whether it's you're taking your own drum machine and you're plugging it to the mixer, adding new stuff, or doing just, you know, creative stuff. This is how you can stand out as well. So we have some questions. I must say sorry from George because the message was too long and I couldn't hear it. I couldn't read it. So let's try to read it again. Personally send demos to some major labels where you actually don't even get an answer, and luckily you have the option on SoundCloud to see who listened to the demo, like how artists should respect the label and say hi and give anything labels should take into consideration. George, I know what you mean, but us labels, we receive more than maybe 100 demos from people, thousands of demos on a weekly basis, and we're not just running labels. It's because, you know, the music business in general is not something you can really, like, people think if you produce music and sell on Beatport, you are a millionaire or something. Even with record labels, when you own a record label, it's just a passion you're doing. Unless you have a huge label, for example, with a lot of you know, showcases and stuff, that's another topic. But with average labels nowadays, the A&R manager and the owner, we really don't have the time to listen to 1,000 demos per week. And I talked about this last week, and I said, yes, we eliminate some unprofessionally presented emails, because maybe we have with a high probability, this is also reflecting something with the music. It might not be professional, and sadly saying, yes, we cannot hear all demos, but if we are approached in a professional way, we might consider. Some labels, yes, I mean,
some big labels answer,
yes,
yeah,
of course, but a lot of them, they have templates maybe. But yes, artists can know that the label listened to the track, and when we do not answer, we're just saying no to the track in a maybe polite way, if I may say, because when you answer, you're just opening the door for the people to come back and answer you, and then you have to answer him back, etc., etc., etc. So when you don't answer, that's a decent no, and with, of course, wishing you all the best. Hidden a message to everyone who's sending demos. Let's see if we have more questions.
I would also say one thing, that nowadays the music industry changed a lot. You know, when I started DJing, an artist used to get 30 demos, 30 promos. He used to choose 25 out of the promos, and they were bombs. Now you get 1,000 demo, and you just get one track that is okay. There's also the networking thing. It's all about networking nowadays. You need to meet people. I meet Mo. There's we respect each other. There's a common interest. We start, you know, just getting to know each other. Then you send the track. If he doesn't like the track, he's gonna tell me he's not like the track. But if he likes it, he's gonna release it. There's also one problem. I'm not gonna say it's a problem. I'm just gonna say it's sad that a lot of big labels are not giving the chance to new talented producer. They're sticking to the big names that are selling, and I mean, I'm against it. If I had a label, which I will have very soon, we're working on it, I would want to really find new talents
and give them
the chance
yes.
to show their work.
Yes, that's the genuine side of having a label as well. Now, some people will kill me for that. They might say, just do as Stamina said. No, it's a different story. But so there was one guy who asked me last time, you have more than 300 something, because I posted that with the anniversary of Per-vurt Records, my label. He said, you have more than 300 artists from around the world, all the countries, and you only have one Lebanese guy with you, who is Fadi. How come you don't sign Lebanese people? I was like, it's not the case at all. You misunderstood this. But all the demos I received from Lebanon are from different styles. So with the label, you don't just release anything. I cannot release hip-hop, for example. Even one time I received a demo from Elias. It was a great demo, but it wasn't fitting the sound of my label. Actually, he didn't send a demo. It was just making me listen to something. And at that point, I could have, asked him to sign it. But also, now, for example, I'll give you something no one knows now. I'm signing with Rollback. He's with us, I think, now. He's doing some sound that fits my label, and yes, I would go for it. It's not something that I do with the country restriction.
Rollback is anyways a great producer.
A great producer, of course, but you have a lot of producers. We have someone here in the comment section, James Awad, for example. He's a very good producer. He's producing something closer to my other label. I have 3 labels, and I might sign him one day. Why not? So please don't misunderstand me when I just say no to your track, because when I say no to it, it's because it doesn't fit the sound of my label. So let's see if we have a question. Sylvan, Klaus SG. This is one of my really favorite artists nowadays. And he's asking, do you think a producer can success without playing gigs or DJing in 2007, or you mean 17, and vice versa? Gigs or DJing? I think you mean 2017. What do you think, Elias?
I think a producer can succeed without DJing or even performing. But again, I think it's cool to be able to perform, even if you're not DJing. At least perform it live. And again, some producers are just here to make music, and they don't want to tour. They don't want to do anything. Some DJs are here just to tour. Some DJs are here to become popular. So everyone has a vision. In my opinion, the most important thing for me is making music in the studio and having the time to do so. So I mean, someone once told me, he's like, it's time for you to get out of this country. And like, I'm like, how can you say this? I came back to this country to do something in this country, and I don't care about being famous or anything. I care about Beirut, about the scene in Beirut. This is what's important for me. I want to do something in Beirut. I want everyone in the world to know what's happening in Beirut, and from Beirut, go abroad. This is, I think,
the message that you
the message, that the vision that I have, and that I believe in. So I think, yes, a producer can be a producer without touring or DJing.
Yeah, so George Elias, haha, do as Stamina Elias, not Stamina anymore. So, I signed you, come on, man. I signed you recently. Yes, I love the EP you gave me. It's also supported by Cataneo already. It's been a while, so it's gonna be out soon, hopefully. We have a question. It's a good question from Firas. How about you tell us what tools or equipment for your live sets?
Okay, so basically we're using the Roland MX1. The Roland MX1, always forgetting the table. The MX1 that is sending a clock to all the machines. The drum machine is a Roland TR8. I've wired it through saturation and overdrive, because I like it to be crunchy and you know, raw. So there's a lot of like distortions and stuff on the drums. Then Ziad has an electribe that triggers a virus, which is a Axis virus, which is a multi-timbral synthesizer. So he can launch up to 6 or 12 sounds maybe, like different sequences at the same time from one synthesizer. I've also got a MIDI controller, because we're using Ableton as a pedal. So like delays and reverbs on the master of the tracks, and there's also some pedals that are just controlling. I mean, some pedals that gives you the possibilities to tweak every single sound and modulate every single sound. Ziad also uses the System 1 as well, and Yamaha CH or CS that has the classical Yamaha, like the Rhodes, the Hammond, and these electric pianos, as well as the Roland JDX. He just decided to use it, and I think this is also going to take us to another level of producing. We're also using 2 Moog Fuggers, 1 MIDI-Murph, and 1 ring modulator with an LFO, so you can use an LFO on the drums, on the sounds, anything. What else? I think there's also an Eventide reverb that we're using, a pedal, and I think that's it.
But of course you're thinking about always expanding the set, or you're just happy with it like it is?
I mean, we're always try to expand the set, but again, having a lot of machines could be really complicated. So
yes,
we're trying to have the less machines possible, even though we're up to 15 synthesizers and machines and pedals if you put them all together. Yeah, there's also a lot of wiring, like I said before, a lot of MIDI signals, sending MIDI signals and audio signals. The Roland's series work through USB into the MX1, so it's synced. It's like MX1 is like a DAW if you want, and it's the brain of the whole live set. Yeah, that's it.
And I think that soon maybe we are going to do something with the new toys over here.
Of course, the jam session would be great next time with Ziad. We can maybe do a small
a trio,
a small performance, just jamming.
Yeah, just jamming. Maybe we can go live with it as well, or maybe we can show you some gear or testing some gear, or just designing some stuff, or telling you more about some gear. But basically, we're not supported or sponsored by any brand. We're talking about a lot of brands. We're not supported by any, not even Nestle, because we're drinking water a lot today.
Karim Berberi, Habibi.
We have a question from Anthony Saadi. Elias, I have the same vision as you. Try to gain as much experience here in Montreal, then come back to Beirut and wreck shit up. However, I'm having some difficulties producing beats and percussions. Any tips? Do you use a drum machine? Do you write them note by note, or use pad-like machine? I think Elias will answer you when it comes to producing in the box and not performance.
Exactly. So it's very different. Performing in the box is just trying beats first, trying to get the cool groove and the right hook. And I mean, a track with no hook is not a track for me. So you need to find that hook, which is really hard to find. Sometimes you spend days, sometimes you can find it in 5 minutes. So yeah, programming beats, I could program it on machine because I have the machine. I could just started on my Roland 707 in the studio and then recorded it into the DAW in Ableton and then tweak the sound. So it depends. You just need to work still a lot of time experimenting and experimenting and experimenting until this is how you're gonna evolve. Because I mean, you can take courses, you can learn the basics, but if you don't practice, you won't get anywhere.
Exactly, yes. It's all about practicing, but on a foundation that has a lot of knowledge. Some people, they just tweak things and they're losing some time. But if you tweak things while you know what you're doing, it would be more, I think, more creative when it comes to the
and sometimes you don't know what you're doing and you end up with an amazing sound,
yes,
that even if you try doing something, you can do better. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So this is how
it's a machine at the end. You don't know what's like a small turn of a knob can make a huge difference. So I think we stopped receiving, or I think I cannot really scroll now because of the Facebook system here on my laptop. So I don't know if you have some questions. Anyway, until we receive some questions, this is a reminder. G.GOES Live, I called it. It happened by mistake last week. I was just spending some time in the studio. I went live for 15 minutes to answer some questions and to kill some time, and I found this that I stayed for 2 hours. And now, also Elias joined, and I called him out, and he's my guest tonight. And this is going to be every Wednesday at 8 p.m. We're going to answer all questions. Every week I have a guest. And we will try our best to make this in a better way. Like maybe we can read all the comments, somehow we can find a solution for that. But anyway, I think we answered a lot of your questions, and we are waiting for more. A question just popped now in my head for Elias. I wanted to ask you about your other projects, like the Elias project. So recently you have signed and released on Bedrock with Ali Ajami. He's my cousin.
He's your cousin?
Yes. So tell us about this.
Ali is a brother. Ali is a very good friend and a very talented person as well. Well, we decided to start working together with this track called "Bring It Back." The name of the track came because Ali disappeared for a long
Yes.
time. So it was first Ali is back, and then it's bring it back to the roots. So we worked on this track. It took us 6 months to finalize the track, and every time changing and tweaking. And there's a friend of us, Jules, who's also a great DJ and a producer, who recorded the percussions. Another friend from Three Machines, Simon Damien, who also played a bit on the guitar, and we edited the parts we wanted. And then the rest was just tweaking and, all changing, evolving until we got the final result. But we also spent like 3 months, like I was telling Ali, there's a problem, there's something that I'm not feeling, I'm trying to change like the clap, the hat, the bass. It's not working. The problem was actually the kick. And I found it in 5 minutes. And the minute I found it, like I looked at Ali, I was like, this is it. So, and since Ali is a very close friend to John and has released on Bedrock and did many transition mixes, he sent it out. It took a lot of time for John to answer, but he ended up answering, and he really loved the track, and this is how it got released.
Great. And what's coming up next?
I mean, there's one that just got released on John Debo's record label. It's called Mind Warp Digital. It's also like a collaboration that we basically did for audio culture. You remember the audio culture guys? The track is called Audio Culture, and the whole purpose behind it was to bring 3 different, different cultures and mix them together and create a track. We had Pim Van Harten, who was on the piano, Tariq Khouloui, very good friend, and someone I also really appreciate, Pim as well, who also played on the guitar. And he's the guy from Tanjid Dagat, super talented. You should hear their album, by the way, their new album. It's a bomb. And Julian, again, who played the percussion. And we just released it maybe during the beginning of April, maybe. And to be honest, I haven't been producing lately. I've got 3-4 tracks with rollback that are already done. We're checking where we're gonna release them. There's one with 3 machines. There's 2 original that I've tried few times, and I'm waiting to release them on, I don't know, on the right label, or I'm gonna release them on my record label, my new record label, that is gonna be launched most probably at the end of the summer. And now, since after the first live performance, it's time to get back in the studio, and we're also creating again more songs with Ziad. So there's also our tribe party. There's Veloset as well, which is more techno-oriented, and the record label. So this is mainly our objective
so many
for
things on the
2017.
table.
Yeah.
And how does the summer look like? I hear a lot of good stuff, like positive vibes.
Scary, but
Scary
in a positive way.
In a positive way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think this summer, I've heard that 7 million people will be visiting Beirut. So, guys, get ready for the summer. It's gonna be huge this time.
And what's the main title for you this summer? Like, is there any main thing that you are planning to do, or it's just many things divided on?
I'm gonna be playing all over Beirut, and I'm gonna be also focusing on my record label and tribe with all the people who are part of it. We're just trying to do something different, something that never happened in Beirut. I'm not gonna say much yet. I'm gonna leave it as a surprise, but it's gonna be a kind of a show, and I can't wait for it.
Me too. And we have Omar Agha. He's asking, what do you recommend to sample from an old vinyl and clean the sound on Ableton, especially if it's a classical instrument and very detailed?
I mean, what do you recommend to sample from an old vinyl? I mean, you can sample from an old vinyl, you can sample from a video on YouTube, you can sample from the sound of I don't know, a microwave or a door that you're opening, or a glass of water with ice.
I've seen recently that you were putting some stuff in a
this was actually we created with Yad and the Three Machine guys. It's Slayman who came up with the idea of creating a real reverb. Like it's a very short reverb. It just gives a bit of ambience. So what we did, we finished the track. We put a speaker into a metal bucket and a microphone into the speaker. So we recorded the track on the microphone, and then we layered again the recorded track with the microphone over the other track and did the tweakings, and this is how we got a real reverb.
Nice. That we were discussing the creative process, and basically that's it. That's the creative process, when you just think outside the box. And you know, some people, they can produce a full track with high quality sounds by just sampling stuff you can use on a daily basis, like forks and knives and stuff like that. Anyway, I think we answered you, Omar. And how do you clean those things in Ableton? It depends on the sound.
Well, this is like, I mean, what I love the most in the part I love the most in production is like going into microscopic details to be able to control the sound you want and not being limited by another sound. You know what I mean? So you can do anything you want. You can take a track and remove the drums from it, remove the piano, or even you can play back the piano. You know what I mean? But with a different sound. So there's so many ways of doing it. You can just take a small bar from a Miles Davis track or a Cypress Hill track, and this is your hook, and you start building stuff all over the loop. And so yeah, everyone has different techniques, everyone has different ways. I sample sometimes, but I'm more into just creating stuff from nothing.
Great. And basically, we do not have any new question now. So again and again, for people who joined recently, my guest for tonight is Elias, and this is the second episode of G.GOES Live. The name just came out in 5 minutes. And I will be hosting my colleagues on a weekly basis, and Elias is going to be with me at least once a month to talk about more technical stuff, maybe about synthesis. We can show you, for example, the Roland TR-8, which he loves, and it happened that I also have it here in the studio, so we can just work on it. And I think we should really increase the awareness nowadays on stuff like that, like not only DJing, like playing on CDJ. We have to start increasing the awareness about using machines, whether they are analog or semi-analog or digital or whatever. But these things are more creative, and I think the orientation now and the direction people are taking is for that, for live performance. Whether whether you're using analog gear or just digital controllers with Ableton Push and stuff like that. So I think we are done with all the questions, and we are a bit, we need a break. Maybe we can end this if we don't have any. What do you think, Elias?
As you wish. You want to do a break and continue, or we
maybe
just,
actually we can take a break, but meanwhile, please write your questions, or if you can send them as a private message, it would be better for me. Also include them in the comment section. I have my laptop here in front of me, that's why I'm not always with you on the camera, trying to take your questions. And do we have a question now? We don't. So we are going to take a break and leave you with maybe some music. What are we going to play?
What are you going to play?
That's a big question. I play something from maybe we can play some SoundCloud from Elias' page, but I need to connect my sound card here. So yes, we will leave you with some music in the background, and we will come back to you in maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes, to have more of your questions. It was a very informative session. What do you think?
It was what?
Very informative.
This is why I'm here. This is why I like it. I think it's people in Beirut, all over the world, need something like this. It's I mean, we don't know everything, but at least we try to answer what we know about. And I hope this was helpful. And if you've got any more questions, we'll be ready to answer in a few minutes again.
Great. So I have a small problem, which is because we're going live from my Wi-Fi. So if we go online and put some music, maybe there will be a lot of lag in the audio, and it will be more annoying to you.
Yeah, I think it will be a problem.
I think we are going to take a small break, maybe a 3 minutes break. We will keep this on for the next 45 minutes. We will be back with you. Try to send me your questions as a private message on my Facebook, or just also add them on the comment section. So until we see you again in 3 minutes, maybe, just stay with us, write your questions, and don't leave. We're coming back. Maybe we can add the message.
See you in a bit.
Teleprompter. We will be with you in a few minutes. Okay, so let's take this. I don't know if this is not showing to you properly, but anyway, you can read it. Okay, we will be back in 3 minutes. Hey guys, we're back with you. We took a break for 2 minutes. The laptop was, the iPad was off. So we're back. Who's here and who's not? Let's see.
I think there's a question. What VST is your favorite?
Let's see what we have. I cannot read them all. So we're back with you guys. We took a 3 minutes break. Again, this is a video that is going to stay online even after the live recording stops. We are going to keep it so you can watch it anytime. And while we are online, we can take your questions. If not, you can always go back to my profile and watch the video again. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about performance, production. We talked about Atomic Circus, which is the project Elias and Ziad Sarroud are doing now, using a lot of gear. And I think we have some questions now, or maybe not. How beautiful it would be if we Lebanese joined forces and grow up more internationally. A lot of Lebanese artists are doing a great job in getting support from big names like Ateneo and others, including you, Mr. George. And yes, I am talking about Guy J and how he pulled his crew with him more internationally. Guy J is an amazing guy I met personally, and he said he would love to play in Lebanon, but you know the politics.
Yeah.
By the way, Guy Gerber can.
I mean, yeah, but still, he's born, you know where, so he can. It's dangerous.
Yeah. By the way, I met Guy J also in Amsterdam. He said the same thing. The same thing. He was like,
he's British, but he was born
on our, you know, shame on our politics and stuff like that. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and there's no difference between any one of us. Even if you go to the moon, you will look at Earth, you won't see any borders. What is the best way to become known as DJ? And what are the... That's Ghassan Barakat. Just 1 second. Sorry guys, because we're going live, my internet connection on the laptop is a bit slow. So Ghassan is asking, what is the best way to become known as a DJ? What are the steps that are needed to be taken?
Well, I think there's no best way. Some people work a lot to become something, and some people in a second can become just superstars. So again, there's no rules. But if you're gonna ask me, I would say take your time, be patient, do the things step by step, and this is where I think how you would get somewhere. Some other people were at the right time, the right moment, the right place, and they met someone who's really connected, and this is how they made it. Some others have a huge marketing team around them, full team who's like giving them exposure, and like Solomon, like also other people. This is huge teamwork. So yeah, there's so many different ways to make it happen. Also, I personally think that you need to be talented, even though talent nowadays is underestimated.
And we can see that in Lebanon a lot. Nissim Gabriel, music is a universal language. Thank you, Nissim. And we have a good evening from Jean Ghanem, from John Magus. What do you think about Ableton as producing and mastering?
I mean, Ableton is my favorite software for producing. The workflow is really fast. I mean, you can do the same in Logic, but one step in Ableton takes 3 steps in Logic. The latency, one thing I don't like about Ableton is the latency, something that you will never face in Logic. But the workflow is fast. For remixing, Ableton is great. It's very easy. We usually start everything on Ableton. I mean, Ziad and myself, or myself, especially since I met Ziad. So we start on Ableton and we finish on Logic. because the rendering is better, the latency is better, and even for mastering, if you or mixing, Logic is better than Ableton. I wouldn't say Ableton is a mastering platform. It's more a creative platform, and yeah, that's it.
That's it. So we also have last question for Elias from George. And by the way, thank you for being so interactive, George. I really appreciate that. And that's the purpose of our video, by the way. What happened to Gunther and Stamina? I haven't been in Lebanon for more than 5 years. You guys are amazing, and sending you all the love from Denmark.
Thank you, George. Well,
by the way, Stam, before you, I have to salute
Gunther,
our great friend Gunther, who also has been a great influence on us and on the scene.
He's a very good friend.
He's
and
our,
a brother.
Yes, our someone we look up to. So
well,
yes.
Nothing really. I mean, what happened to Gunther and Stamina? Gunther and Stamina still exists, but we made Gunther and Stamina more exclusive. You know, when Gunther and Stamina started, they were. I mean, we were like few DJs in Beirut. There was Fadi. There was. I'm not gonna name everyone, but Fadi, Big Al, Ali Ajami, and some other people. Majam, of course, he's a very, very good friend as well, and a lot of other. I mean, not a lot, but few other DJs. So you know, Gunther and Stamina, we started something. We both came back from abroad, and we became the residents of VO18. So at some point, you know, the scene is evolving, and the crowd wants something new. You know, they get bored very fast. So you always have to provide the crowd and please the crowd. So this is where we decided to just make it more exclusive, play 1, 2, 3 gigs a year, and work on our solo projects.
Yeah, and do you have any event coming out soon with Goons?
Well, we played a month ago before Nicoran, and I don't know when is the next one, but we definitely have another one during the summer.
Yeah, this question reminded me of something, by the way, talking about how this all started. Like, I mean, going back in time, how did it all start? I mean, we did not have that much of, you know, electronic stuff. So I think you can.
Yeah, you know, I was 16 years old. I used to hang out with a bunch of old friends who are now my closest friends, and it started in a bedroom. And then I wasn't a DJ back then. We had 2 guys from Finland, I think, Mika and Pasi, who used to spin on turntables, and we used to like. We decided to start throwing parties in forests, and back then it was illegal, because if you get caught, it's against the law. It's like satanic, and you know, these let's say stupid stuff that has been happening lately. Then this is where I wanted to start mixing, so we started with hip hop, and you know, trying to scratch a bit, and then you also had a group called Positive Vibration. It was Nicole Dabir and Maya Hajjar, may her soul rest in peace, and Pamel, who used to throw parties at Crazy, Duplex, Pasha. It was one venue in Kaslik. And then there was also some other people like Peter Abdallah as X-Man, and also Jad Matta, Roni Abu Saab, Jad Shahlawi, who created something called Cream. And we also, I think a bit before that, we created a brand called Beirut Underground. It was also a community, a bunch of friends. We used to do all the design, all the setups, friends DJing, you know, hanging out all the time together. And there was also BO, but BO was more into like quality music, but not 100% electronic. It was there was a lot of acid jazz, a lot of Tom Waits, trip hop, a bit of everything. And I think BO started going like 100% electronic in '99 or 2000, and I was already in Scotland, and that's pretty it. Yeah, so maybe we also, with a bunch of friends, we've done like 3-4 parties, like really underground parties, super packed. There was also Rayas, Rayas Takub, who you used to also be there with Artcore. It was another community as well who used to throw parties. So we used to kind of play like hard techno, drum and bass, jungle, hardcore, tech house, a bit of everything. So then I went to Glasgow and London, Montreal, France. Decided to come back 6 years later, and this is where BO18 was already into this, and there was also new promoters booking DJs, and yeah. So basically, I think it really started in 2005, 2006 to like.
You've
getting
been
bigger
sharing the decks with all the international acts coming to Lebanon.
I mean, yeah, I've had the chance to play with most of them and enjoyed meeting every single one of them, and yeah, it was like we say, good times. Really
Golden
good
age.
I'm not gonna say golden age, but it was like good time. I'm still enjoying the scene. I'm believe in this scene. And I think the scene is evolving very well, and I'm sure we're gonna get somewhere, like I mean, just being one of the top cities for electronic music, and as a destination, of course, and having producers, because we have a lot of talents in Beirut, and a lot of good DJs as well. The only different thing before was سليمان حبيب قلبي انت مشتاق لك كمان. When we started there, the digital world didn't exist, so no Beatport, no internet, no Facebook, no cell phone, so we used to play the same records until we bought other records. And also back then, I wish I had someone who could direct me, tell me what to do. So, but at the same time, I consider myself lucky because I had to learn this by myself. But again, because I wanted this and I wish any person existed before, this is what I like doing. I like just supporting real talents and trying to help as much as I can, and that's it, without asking anything in return. This is just what I love, I'd rather hear that Beirut has 30 amazing producers or DJs rather than have 2 good producers and DJs.
And a lot of names that came out from this country so far, and just representing Lebanon in so many places, and that's something really we're all proud of. And
of course,
by the way, this is what we all do on a daily basis, whether it's me or Elias or all our colleagues. We're just supporting the scene, and not for any like personal something. It's just all a community which is growing together, and with everyone having more and more success, it's reflecting back at each one of us. And anything that supports the scene nowadays is we do support it, whether it's from people creating music to people performing to people asking for any push. Like every one of us is just there to support and give this chance. I don't think that the music, like music in general, is about just blocking someone from walking forward or just pushing someone down or pulling him back. It's just about going forward, and especially that we Lebanese are very well supported by the big names. And last month I had an exclusive interview with Hernan Cataneo for something I'm doing, and he mentioned that. He said, even Nick Warren also in an interview for Per-vurt, he said, when it comes to the Lebanese crowd and the Lebanese artists and stuff, like he was comparing to the best destinations in the world, and he was like, Lebanon is here. And they have something really special for this country, and I think we should all appreciate and push even more this. Anyway, we talked a lot about the deepest aspect of that, and until we receive another question, I don't think we have a new question right now, or I'm not being able to scroll. There's something also we would like to mention about the main topic of tonight, which is the live performance. Someone asked, and I missed the question, he was like, where do you go more, into synthesis using analog gear, or more into like controlling clips that you pre-recorded before?
Go into both.
Both.
I mean, you need to go into synthesis to be able to sound design as well. So it's all kind of work. It's finding the groove, tweaking the drums, sound designing, which you need to know synthesis to be able to do so, and then agreeing on the sequences. Even though the sequences, actually not agreeing on the sequences, it's just agreeing on the sound and how the drums, the groove is sounding, and then we will never play it again. Like I said, it's, if you're asking what's the track, I'm gonna tell you I don't know. It's different. You know, I don't remember how I played it. I would never remember how I played it. So and this is what I love about it, because you don't get bored. You're not playing the same set, launching from Ableton, you know, like sequences from Ableton. You're way more limited, I think. And I'm not saying how we're doing it is the way to do it, but this is how I believe is the right way, and it's always giving you possibilities, like endless possibilities of adding effects and machines and modulation and anything you want. So again, it's
different,
yeah,
creative and intuitive. Well, guys, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Let me see if we have one more question. Maybe we have. Yes, Mark Elmore. Hey, Stam G, do you think that mixing in key is essential even for the hard techno niche, or is it enough to know your music well? Because I noticed that a lot of DJs don't give importance to the key.
Listen, I think mixing in key, forget about mix in key, the software. Just mixing in key harmonically is very essential. You need to know how you mix in key to be able again to go against the rules. So sometimes you mix in keys, sometimes there's the keys, they don't match together. It's just a sound that reminds you of another sound that you think fits like, I mean, two tracks can be total two different keys, and then they can work pretty much together. So it also depends on how you're mixing it, the way you're mixing it, and yeah, so the creative aspect of mixing, because mixing is not just beat matching. Beat matching is the easiest part of it. Beat matching is maybe the first thing you learn. Then the hardest thing in mixing is how to control your frequencies, which frequencies you want to use, which frequencies to remove when, at what time, and
how you create the flow.
Creating a flow, and I believe in most of the time, like long mixes. You know, this is where your people say, they tell themselves, is it still the same track or it's a new track? they don't know where's the difference. So it's a way of blending them. And I'm also for taking a risk and adding more elements, so not just using two CD players. Two CD players, okay, it's very cool, but also you're limited. But when you have 3-4 CD players or 3 CD players, one turntable, and you're adding elements, sometimes loops, sometimes a cappellas, so it's all kind of producing your DJ set.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why, for example, I use Ableton when I do my radio show. It's you're producing it. You're just selecting the music that create a certain flow. And by the way, radio shows are different different than playing live. The music you select in a radio show might be totally different than the music you play live. And you know, DJing is not about just playing for a crowd in a nightclub or you can play on the radio, you can play at a gym, for example, or you can play in your bedroom. It doesn't matter, but when you're mixing something, you have to take into consideration. And back to your question, by the way, Mark, in bars and pubs, you know, even in radio shows, like daytime or peak hour in the day, or we call it traffic traffic jam hour or whatever. In radio stations, it's not really something they ask you to do harmonic mixing. It's the complete opposite. You have to create this shock of transitioning between songs, going opposite keys, just changing the mood,
and just
so
choosing
quickly.
new tracks as well.
Choosing new tracks, exactly. You don't really mix harmonically in certain places. It's against that. So when you're into techno or progressive or trance or whatever, those styles, when you're building a flow, when you're going into a story, a journey, like Elias is one excellent example for that, you have to go with you know, blending, as Elias said. You have to just blend the music to create just one journey, not with clashes, because as Elias said, beat matching is not the most important thing nowadays. The most important thing is to take the crowd on a different story or a different journey without having clashes with either frequencies or with harmonies.
Which is also the perfect example of syncing. Syncing music is beat match already, but even if it syncs sometimes, there's no flow. You're not using the frequency right. There's a clash of harmonies. There's so many different problems that you can face. We all do mistakes while we're playing, but the thing is, this it's not a problem. It's how you get away with the mistake the fastest possible without making without letting people notice that you've done mistakes. In my opinion, all the DJs do mistakes while they're playing. The one who says the contrary, I'm sorry, is not saying the truth. We at least do one mistake in every set, and that's what's beautiful. You know, perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's why some people use in their own production, they use swings and grooves just to get out of the grid and out of being so quantized, and just add the human error, we call it. It's a human error, human feel to it. So, Elias, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For being here. I think it's time to say goodbye to you guys, and this video is going to stay online for as many, maybe forever. And you can come back and watch it anytime. Until next week, also I will be every Wednesday live at 8 p.m. with guests. I will announce who's going to be next week. I still don't know who. And again, I have to say thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Mo, for having me. It was a pleasure. I hope I was able to answer all your questions. And we'll be seeing each other soon.
Soon,
like
at least once a month
yes.
with Elias. And really, thank you guys. This is all for you. We are sharing on the comment section. We're sharing things with you. And for the answers we couldn't, questions we couldn't answer, we will do our best to go back to the comment section and answer them in a written way or something like this. So until next Wednesday, we wish you all the best. Really, thank you for being here, and thank you, Elias.
Thank you.
We see you soon. Bye.